And hey, fam, I think we actually made it streaming today on time. So if you are on, hey, fam, I think we actually made it streaming today. We did. Come on, new skills. If Anne can do this, just say, if Anne can do this, I can do this.
I think we're good.
Are we good? Holy fam. Let's talk resistance, friends. Woo-hoo! All righty. Second aha. I may have to hire a manager. I love it. All right. Welcome to day 3 of the challenge. Even through a Zoom cutoff, even through sound issues, you are here for a reason. You are here for a reason because you have something right now in this season that is important to bring into the marketplace. So if we haven't met before, I've got my VIPs on a Zoom link right now. If we haven't met before, my name's Anne McDonald, and I'm here to help you blueprint out your 7-figure or 5 or 6 if you want online lifestyle brand. Can somebody say good news? Good news. Good news. All right. So would it be okay with you today if I shared a proprietary framework that I have not shared publicly? Oh, I don't think ever. I've shared it in small groups. I've shared it in my VIPs for my challenges, but I've never actually shared it in a way that people who are not kind of like high level paying clients of mine have had access to it. So is it okay if I share that with you today? Let me know in the chat. All right, guys, you ready? Are you ready to blueprint out a 7-figure lifestyle-led brand, one that fits into, just say it, fits into my lifestyle, right? How many of us have seasons right now that we're going through, right? Family seasons, financial seasons, I don't know, overall relationship seasons, like seasons of upheaval in the earth, whatever it is, right? So my goal today is to help you and to show you how to blueprint out a brand for the online space. So somebody say online, right? Online. We are not today blueprinting out an in-person brick and mortar business. Okay. We're going to print out the online portion. Cool. All right. 4 core decisions. Somebody write in the chat, say this out loud. We're going to make 4, just 4 core decisions today. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to the board and I'm going to draw this out with you. So are we ready to have some fun? Are we ready to do like whiteboard drawing with Anne? Just right in the chat, whiteboard drawing. We jokingly say these are going to be NFTs worth millions someday. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to draw out, you're going to draw a tree. No judgment here. However you draw, it's all good. If you're a realist, if you're I don't know, whatever different type of art, we're going to draw out a tree with 4 roots. Then we're going to draw out a tree with like some of these things, leaves. We're going to pretend these are leaves. All right. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to draw some lines because I want you to understand what I'm sharing with you, by the way, just to give you some context. I have built 14, somebody write in the chat, 14, by some estimations, if you count coaching, consulting, and mentoring as 3 brands instead of 1, I count them as 1, 17 brands, but 14 brands in the online space in the past 2 decades. Some are 5-figure brands, Stress-Free Holiday Home. Some are 6-figure brands. Some are multiple 7-figure brands, real estate brands, one that I'm standing in right now. I'm actually doing this from one of our new Airbnbs, right? Cool. So this one goes on the market as an Airbnb, I think, on June 1st. So 4 core decisions. Just say this with me. 4 core decisions, right? Now, the name of this is called the ethos tree, okay? And I'm going to write my name up. If you don't know who I am, if you use this, just give me attribution, right? Just give me attribution. So the ethos tree comes out of this place of, well, how many of you would like to design a blueprint for your online brand that didn't take 24/7 handholding, right? You want to be able to build a brand that actually works for itself and grows organically for itself. Let me know 1 in the chat if that sounds like good news. So the whole concept for this ethos tree actually was born out of, well, how many of you know when we look at nature, when we look at how things are created, how created things move and breathe and have their being, we actually get metaphors for doing other things in life. So when I look at fruit trees and I see that a fruit tree doesn't labor, it doesn't toil, it doesn't spin, it doesn't like have a bunch of angst, it just literally grows and it bears fruit. Well, what we're going to unpack right now, what we're going to blueprint for you is a way to think about your brand. Just say, I'm going to think about my online brand differently, right? We're not doing spreadsheets. We're not doing all sorts of like accounting type things. We're going to think at a high level about our brand like a fruit tree so that it does the work itself. Okay, we good with that? All right, so the first decision we're going to make is we are going to look at 4 root ethos or the character of our ideal online brand. Okay, is it okay if I give you the 4 steps, the 4 core decisions first, and then we go back and we unpack them? Would that be helpful? Okay. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to look at what we call the trunk or the stability of the online brand. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a data dive. Now, nobody freak out if you're not like a math person. We're going to do some data-driven decisions. Is that cool if we use some data? The third thing we're going to do is we're going to look for a branch of our brand. We're going to make decisions today. Just I'm going to make decisions today. I'm going to make decisions today, right? Everything is right now. Like the time is now, friend. If you're seeing this, your time is now. Just say my wins are on the way. Shared this the other day in a group. My wins are on the way. Okay. The next decision and final decision we're going to make is the primary monetization strategy. Okay. Now, we are not going into super hyper tactics. I'm trying to get you into CEO brain. Can somebody say, I'm going to be a CEO today? I'm going to be a CEO. I'm going to be a founder today. All right. So we're going super high level, shoulders back, space between your ears and your shoulders, and unwind your wrists so that you can get super comfortable sitting in the realm of ideation and blueprinting. Okay, ideation and blueprinting. So the first thing we're going to decide is, what is the character of your ideal online brand? What do I mean by this? So what we're looking for in the 4 root ethos is we're literally looking to the market. Anybody remember Gilligan's Island, right? We're literally looking to the market to see what is working or what has worked. And we're going to pull from 4 different brands to help define the character of our brand. Right now, how many of you are familiar with horse breeding or breeding cattle? right? I'm from Kansas. I was born in Kansas originally. My grandfather bred Grand Percheron horses. Okay. He also had cattle. And when they were breeding horses, they were always looking for the mother, the grandparents, the father, the grandparents on that side, in order to develop a particular character in the future animal. Does that make sense? You guys know what I'm talking about? Or maybe you're into winemaking. Do you know that even in winemaking, you're always looking at what's the grandparent vine to get a particular type of grape? Does that make sense? Can I get a Baptist head nod from some of my VIPs if this is making sense? I want to make sure you guys understand this. So when I'm sitting down to create a new brand, and I literally have my book right here in front of me, this is literally what I'm doing. I sit down, I draw out my ethos tree, and I'm like, what is the character of the brand that I want to bring to market? Right? Right. So the first thing we're going to do, friend, is we're actually going to make some decisions. All right. So can I show you? This is one of my brands. And I have 4 characters down here. Would you like to know what they are? This is just one of my brands. Let me know one in the chat, my VIPs, if you want to know if I'm making sense right now. So the first one is, now nobody judge me. It's the Range Rover Autobiography Edition. It's a really nice car. It's got kind of a custom vibe to it. All right. The next one, another character for this particular brand, is the Word of God. I'm a woman of faith, and I am inspired and encouraged by the Word of God. That's the second one. The third one is, well, I love this little island in Florida. It's called Jupiter Island. It's in Florida. It's got a really sweet little beach. It's on the Atlantic coast. It's really beautiful. And then the other core ethos of this particular brand is, well, is it okay if I tell you, I love setting beautiful tables. So I have a Nicole table setting brand, right? So what are some of the ideas that you have? What are some of the things that inspire you in your life that if you could have kind of the love child of the brand be these 4 characters, all right? So for me, there's a China brand. It's called Royal Crown Derby. And it was my mom's China. She's been gone 20 years, over 20 years. And so that just ministers to me. So here's my first question for you. Your first core decision. If you had to put 4 grandparents into your brand, your ideal online brand for what you're working on right now today, what would they be? Right? What would they be? Does that make sense to my VIPs? This is a very important piece to what you're going to bring to market. Okay. I'm going to stop the share for a second. I want to go face to camera. Let's go back to the horse breeding example. How many of you know that if my grandfather had bred, 2 sets of grandparents to the mother and father, and then they had a colt foal, that horse would have embedded within it its DNA to show up and, run the races or do whatever it had to do, right? Because that core decision had already been made. Well, in the same way, Kim, Wendy, Pam, Dave, Melissa, Sarah, just looking at some of my VIPs right now, in the same way, when you make this core decision, somebody say core decision for my brand, all of a sudden, the brand kind of knows how to behave even without you having to manage it, right? How many of you are familiar with, in the Bible, God gave Adam the right to name the animals. And in the naming of the animals, the character of the animal actually came through. Well, in the same way, when you and I make the first core decision and come up with the root ethos, you want to do a deep dive, research the word ethos. It's fascinating. We do a deep dive to pull out the ethos of the ideal brand. that we actually want to create. That's first core decision, right? We good with that? Should we go to the second one? Awesome, awesome. All right. Remember, we are blueprinting online 7-figure, 5 and 6 if you want it, but 7-figure online brands. Somebody write that in the chat, right? I'm not doing brick and mortar right now. We're doing online brands. All right now, great. We got our grandparents' hand. We got the ethos of the brand. Now what? Right? So how many of you have ever heard of these two little companies? These little companies. Google. Anybody ever heard of Google? Right? What about this one? It's a little university in London, England. Actually, it's not in London proper, but Oxford University. Anybody ever heard of Oxford University? Right? So these two companies, Google and Oxford, got together, and my language, not their language, just right. This is Anne's language. Okay. They had a data love child, right? Google and Oxford got together. And what they did was they determined again, this is Anne's language, not theirs, the minimum viable presence required for you to be known, liked, and trusted online. Now, how many of you think it would be really important if you were building in the online space to actually build in such a way that it was fidelitous with the way that the online space moved and breathed and operated, right? How many of you would think that would be a really important thing to nurture and to steward, right? Well, can I tell you, most people don't do this. Most people, when they're building their online brands, they just have a good idea and they start to share and they may get some traction, but because they haven't stewarded this second core decision, somebody write second core decision in the chat. What happens is there's no stability, there's no trunk to the tree, if you will. Okay, so what is this, Anne? Well, very simply, it's called or referred to as 7-11-4. Now, what does that have to do with my online brand, Anne? Well, if you want to blueprint to 7 figures, who do you want to blueprint to 7 figures? Do you want to blueprint to 5 figures, 6 figures, so that you don't have to work all the time? Would you like to blueprint your brand in such a way that you don't have to be on social media 24/7, right? You don't have to be the one doing all the hustle and grind. Is it okay if we get rid of the hustle and grind? So the 7-11-4 simply refers to this. We need to have, I'll start at the back first, 4 diverse locations, 11 types of content on those diverse locations, and we need to have at least 7 hours of ungated, bingeable content. So the second core decision we're going to make today, friend, is what are my 4 platforms? What are my 11 types of content? And what's my 7 hours of ungated content going to be? Okay, now, before anybody freaks out, if you haven't seen day 1, I want you to go back to the challenge video and rewatch day 1 when this is over. Why? Because I talk about how to make healthy, fast decisions. Okay. So can I illustrate the 7-11-4 with a story? Is it okay if I illustrate this with a story to help really drive this home? Like, why would it matter, Anne? You just need a website. Well, how many of you have ever been to the grocery store? Maybe when you didn't have your makeup on and maybe you forgot to put real shoes on and you go in your Uggs or your flip-flop, I don't know, whatever. You should go to the grocery store in your local town and maybe you're not like all dolled up, right? You know what I'm talking about? So, and you bump into somebody in the store and you're like, oh, I knew I should have done my hair. I knew I should have put my makeup on or something. Well, you run into them in the store. Then you go home, you put your makeup on, and then maybe you head over to the community center later and you see that same friend again. And now you are all cleaned up. You got your nice clothes on. Your friend's like, hey, how you doing? You look better today. You look better this afternoon. Awesome, awesome. Saw you at the store. I wasn't sure how it was going, right? Then a couple days later, you are at a soccer game, right? And you see that same friend again, only this time you're in your workout clothes. You're at a soccer game, right? You got a baseball cap on, you're in your workout clothes. And then the next day, you go to church and you see that same friend on the courtyard and you're both looking fine, right? You got your nice clothes on, you're looking good. Well, in the same way that you have just bumped into your friend at the grocery store, at the community center, at the ballpark, and at church, you're doing the same thing for your future clients in the online space. You're like, hey, bump into me over on YouTube. Hey, bump into me over on Instagram. Hey, bump into me over on Facebook. And hey, by the way, did you bump into me over on LinkedIn? It's the same concept. And what it does is it drives the know, like, and trust for your cold audience who's never met you before, Dave. They don't know who you and Melissa are. They've never met you before, Wendy. Pam, they're like, who's Pam? Oh, that's right. No, I saw her. She teaches Christian women. Or that Kim, they've seen you on YouTube and they're like, hey, I love Kim on YouTube. Did you know she also has this really cool Instagram page? Right? So that's the concept of the 7-11-4. So the second core decision. Well, first, does that make sense, my VIPs? That makes sense. We got a Baptist head nod. Okay, cool. So actually, is it okay if I just share with you something on this? I have seen time and time again. I've been in the online space, I guess, technically since 2008. My first real sustainable success was in 2013 with an information product called Decorate Like a Pro System. I have seen since 2013, people kind of poo-poo this concept. They're like, oh, it doesn't really matter. I don't really need it. I just need, a hot offer and a this and a that. And I'm like, that's cool, but that's an awful lot of work constantly. And is it okay with you if I train you so that you don't have to work all the time? Would that be okay? I mean, I'm hanging out in one of our Airbnbs right now. We're going to head over to another city where we got a bunch more properties because I don't want to work all the time, right? But I do want to serve people at a really high level. Does that make sense? So a little bit of work at the front end is going to pay off big on the back end, right? A little bit of foundation digging to create your second core decision, what 4 platforms are you going to have, what 11 types of content. And by the way, if you're a VIP in our challenge, on your dashboard is a whole training on 7-11-4. I made a Loom video. I got a list for you. I got all sorts of goodies. So if you're not a VIP, make sure we'll drop the link somewhere. You can hop in the VIP, and that alone is worth the price of admission. Okay. Because if you do this, Kim's the Papered Chef, Wendy is My Home for God. Pam works with Christian women. David and Melissa are Power Couple Hub. Sarah, I think you're in the design. Sarah's in the design space. Eleanor, I'm not sure what niche you're in. I think it's high ticket coaching. And so whatever space you're in, if you will do this, can I tell you, friend, you're going to own the market because nobody else is doing this. We just think they are. We just think they are because we're already in the space. Okay, so does that make sense for your second core decision? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Third core decision. Third core decision. Now we've got this nice solid trunk. We've got all this stuff in the online space that kind of like solidifies us. The third core decision is what we like to call a branch. How many of you ever climbed trees when you were little, right? Anybody ever climbed trees and you go out on a branch that maybe wasn't so stable? And you're like, uh-oh, better get back, right? Or what about this? How many of you are familiar with the concept of like a bank that has a main branch and then a whole bunch of satellite branches? You guys know what I'm talking about, right? They've got like a headquarters and they got all these other branches. Well, the third core decision that you and I are going to make, just say, I'm going to make the decision today. I'm going to make the decision today, is for the main branch of our brand. Now, what do I mean by this? All right, I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to go face to camera for a minute. I want you to image in your head a really healthy fruit tree. I mean, a healthy fruit tree. It is in good soil. It is by streams of living water. It is growing. It is thriving, and it is bearing fruit. I want you to image in your head one main branch that's super strong, that's your favorite branch to go to pick the fruit, right? It's your favorite branch. What we're looking for in this core decision is, what is your future client's favorite platform to engage you on and give you their email information, give you their texting information. When they're ready to sign up for that email list, Wendy Gunn, what website are they on? What platform are they on? Pamela, when they are ready to buy your course, what is that main branch? Okay, where are they headed? Okay, they're going to YouTube, Kim, right? So you're going to have one main branch that you are going to make a decision on today that is your ideal clients, your high ticket buyers' favorite place to go when they actually want to engage you, right? Now, Ian, isn't that the same as 7-Eleven-4? No. Okay, no. All right. Is it okay if I use a clothing illustration for a minute? Is it okay? All right. So how many of you, pardon me, know what a capsule wardrobe is? Do you know what a capsule wardrobe is? It's kind of like your basics, right? Wendy, you got your nice black pants, your black top, your black dress, you got a few basics. And man, that capsule wardrobe, it goes up and down 5 or 10 pounds or 20 pounds. It goes in and out of any situation. You can wear heels, you can wear flats, you can jewelry it up, you can make it look good, right? All right, dudes, well, if you're not familiar with a capsule wardrobe, ask your girls, ask your wife, ask your partner, all right, or ask a sister. So your trunk, your 7-Eleven-4 is like your capsule wardrobe. Man, that thing is sturdy, right? In a pinch, that'll take you from a wedding to a funeral and everything in between. Your branch, man, that is that cute little special outfit. It's a little vibey. You put it on and you're like, I look good, right? And that's the piece, that's the location, that's the proverbial outfit that your client wants to go to when it's time to convert. All right? When it's time to actually take the action. Now, I want to give you an example from some of my brands. So we have brands that are we have a meditation brand, not brands, it's one brand. There's a meditation brand. We have a holiday decor brand. We have a coaching, consulting, and mentoring brand. If you'd like to work with us, I'm sure there's more information somewhere you can find out how to work with us. I have decorating brands. I have a tabletop brand. I have all sorts of different brands. And what's interesting is that the holiday decor brand, they like to convert on a different branch than the meditation brand. Okay, who can guess what branch a meditation brand would want to convert on? Who can guess? Meditation, words, audio. They like the podcast route, right? They like the audio podcast route. Holiday decor, they like to see stuff, right? They want to see stuff on Facebook, on Instagram. They want to see the pretty pictures on the website. So what is your brand, Wendy? What is your brand, Pam? What is your brand, Dave and Melissa, Sarah, Eleanor? Where does your ideal client want to engage with you? And that's a really important core decision you're going to make, right? So where do they want to engage with you when they're giving you their contact information? Right? Eleanor, how do you figure this out? The really cool thing is you actually get to decide because you are creating your blueprint for your brand. Okay. Now, eventually, Eleanor, there will be multiple branches, but what we want to do is we want to ride one horse at a time. And we want to really build out one branch from the 7-Eleven 4 that is sturdy, that is attractive, that is optimized. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. All right. The next core decision that you're going to make to blueprint out your 7-figure brand. Now, I've said this a couple of times, and I come from this, my grandfather, like I said, he had cattle and horses. We want to, how many of you are familiar with that saying, you can only ride one horse at a time? You can only ride one horse at a time. So there is how do I want to put this? There is a simplicity for your client that if you will provide and focus on one core monetization strategy at the outset, your client who has found you, your future client who's found you, let me change colors here. They have found you in the 7-Eleven 4. They're like, ooh, I want to go learn from Kim on YouTube. And then Kim is going to have one core monetization strategy, which she already does. She has several. She's going to actually pick one core monetization strategy to really seal the style, if you will, of your brand. Okay. Somebody write seal the style, if you will, of your brand. Okay. Now, if you're on live with us, go ahead and screenshot this. Like I said, just give me attribution. I would appreciate that, right? We want to give good energy and good sharing and all that kind of good stuff. Let me illustrate this as an example from design. Is it okay if I use design as a metaphor? So I'm a designer by trade. That's my actual trade skill set. And when we would do blueprints, one of the things that we would do is we would come up with an overall color schematic, right? These are the colors that we're going to work within for the whole house to make it cohesive. Does that make sense? So in the same way, when you are coming up with your primary monetization strategy, you're looking to make a decision that will serve your highest and best client at their favorite point. Okay. Their favorite point. It's kind of like your core color scheme. All right. We want to make sure that it's congruent. Somebody write congruent in the chat. Okay. I shared this yesterday with our VIPs. I've seen this time and time again. People get right on the 4. They're like doing the 7-Eleven 4. They come up with a branch, and then all of a sudden they got a $19 product here and a $25K product here. And these are 2 different people. And their brand falls apart, and they're like, Ann, why is this not working? And I'm like, because your core monetization strategy is not congruent with your one ideal client. Okay. Now, would you guys like to know how this has played out in my brands and how I discovered this, like not the happy way, right? Like really not the happy way. So there are clients who will engage low ticket prices, and there are clients who will engage high ticket prices. What you want to do when you're making a decision about your core monetization strategy is you want to set your high value proposition at the top. Now, if you don't know what that means, I'm always looking for a $5,000 price point when I start any brand. I'm looking to see, hey, is there anything we could provide that someone would willingly, like immediately, pay $5,000 for? Now, for some of you, that may seem like, Ann, I'm used to buying $18 courses. Like that's not going to happen in my world. Well, friend, that may not be your reality, but it's not, but it is market reality. Okay. There's a market, and there always will be a market for the high ticket buyer. Okay. In our programs, we actually walk people through a case study of Neiman Marcus during the Depression to illustrate this point, right? They were one of the few retailers to actually survive the Depression because they employed a high value proposition always, okay? So how did this play out in my life? Well, some of you know I have a holiday decor brand, okay? You can literally go to Holiday Decor Home right now and see one of our media sites for one of our brands. So in my holiday decor brand, when I first got started, I had a low ticket. I actually had a $19 product and I had a $5,000 product. The problem was they were two different people buying the product. The $19 buyer wanted nothing to do with the $5,000 product, and the $5,000 buyer wanted nothing to do with the $19 product. I was like, what's wrong? I'm providing all these options for people. Okay. Lean in on this, please. When I finally discovered that I needed to make the $19 product, so the $19 product, Wendy, Eleanor, Dave, and Melissa, Sarah, Pam, when I finally discovered that I needed to make the $19 product, the misery pain point of the $5,000 buyer, everything shifted for me. Everything shifted for me. Why, Anne? Well, let's go back to the tree. Let's go back to the tree. My $19 buyer here, can you guys see my little stick figure down here? This is my $19 buyer. This person was picking a piece of fruit here, and my 5K buyer wanted a totally different piece of fruit that was up over here. And so what was happening was, is it okay if I use some energy language, kind of some vibey language? Energetically, they were two different things. Energetically, it was like I'm wearing track shoes with my wedding dress and not as a style statement, okay? It was energetically, I was sending out two different messages. But as soon as I shifted, I kept the $19 price point, but I made this $19 price point the absolute pain point of this buyer to get her in the door. Everything shifted. I had one monetization strategy. Let me know, VIPs, if that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense to you. Okay. How did it play out? Very simply. My $5,000 buyer for my holiday decor stuff wanted to fire the event planner and the caterer. She's like, I don't want to pay the event planner and the caterer for my holiday decor plan. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to do that myself, right? And have it done in-house. So guess what my $19 lead gen product became? How to fire your caterer and how to fire the event planner and still have a home worthy of being published in the magazines this holiday. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Instead of trying to dumb down a product and just get people in the door. Okay. Now, we've done some really high level kind of teaching today. I think you're up for it. Are you up to it? Okay. 4 core decisions. I'll get to your question in a minute, Eleanor. It's a great question. 4 core decisions, friends. The first, what's the root ethos of your brand? What's the character of your brand? I shared with you the character of one of my brands, right? Range Rover Autobiography Edition. It's a beautiful car. It's like the custom edition that you can get every year, right? The Word of God, because I love the Bible. I love that, right? The next one, what was the next one? Oh, Jupiter Island. It's gorgeous island in Florida. Great golf course, right? And then a particular brand of China, Royal Crown Derby. I love it. Okay. So ethos, meaning deep character of your brand. Think DNA. So Imagine this. Have you ever known somebody who didn't have great character? And in certain situations, it didn't show up. But in other situations, when the heat got turned up, their character really showed itself. Does that make sense? Well, in the same way, Wendy, Eleanor, Pam, Sarah, David, Melissa, those are our VIPs on right now. In the same way, you want to design and choose the character, the ethos, what? And Kim, hey, Kim, the ethos of your brand so that the character comes through in the heat of the moment, if you will. Right? Now, in our mastermind program, we go deep into this. We actually have a 3-day advance that we do, and I think we do 6 of them. Is this who I am? If you really want to look for brands that are in the existing marketplace that are successful, that if you had a data love child with those brands, it would be your brand. Think of it like your grandparents, right? You are the sum total of all the generations that have gone before you. We're just looking for kind of the grandparents of your brand. Okay. Does that make sense? All right. So, yeah, let me go ahead and answer some of these questions. Is this fun, guys? Hopefully this is new to you. I mean, this is what I've been doing since, I don't know, I've just been building brands because it works. So in that space, these are the 4 core decisions in order to blueprint. In order to blueprint, remember, what's a blueprint, friends? It's a plan that other people can take advantage of and read in order to help you build powerfully and effectively. In our VIP session, we covered the 4 levels of value. This is the ideation and then the communication work, right? This is the ideation and communication work. All right. Eleanor has a great question. For a coaching practice, would you recommend to brand with the name of the coaching company or our name? Great question. So I'm going to answer that in a 3-parter, Eleanor, if that's okay. So I always believe in the power of a personal brand, right? I believe in the power of a personal brand. I also have multiple brands that I am nowhere near, okay? It really is a matter of preference, but I think if you don't have a personal brand yet, that's always a great place to start. Now, I have two areas where I diverge on that. Can I share those 2 areas for anybody else who's listening? It's a great question, Eleanor. There are 2 markets where today, as of this live stream, I see such viable proof of concept that I don't mind going straight to product, okay? That's in the real estate space and the athletic space or the health space. Like real estate, you can build real estate. There's so much money flowing in the market that if you just wanted to kick a brand off fast, you could do it in the real estate space, right? Because there are people at every level who want to learn about real estate and they'll pay for it. The other one is in the athletic space. All right, we have a bunch of clients. We have Markel in our mastermind. She helps people do Ironmans. We have Dustin. He's the founder of Hockey Helix. We had Craig, who's an NFL player. We had Kevin, not in the program anymore, but Kevin was in the golf space. We have other people who are in like the tennis space. So those 2 markets are pretty, they have viable flowing markets right now. So if you wanted to go straight into those, but for a coaching practice, I think there's no substitute for your name, right? For you having the power of a personal brand. And then from your personal brand, your personal lifestyle brand, you can spin off a whole bunch of different lifestyle brands. Does that make sense? Great question. Let's give it up for Eleanor. I mean, here's the thing. Can I give you another tip on this? Would you guys like to know how long I give myself from blueprint to get them into the market? Well, the shortest I've ever done it is 6 hours. 6 hours. I was up against a trademark deadline and I had 6 hours. Okay, that was our meditation brand. For the most part, I'm looking to blueprint and monetize within 90 days. And monetize in such a way that I'm working less than ultimately 10 hours a month on the brand, 40 hours a month to begin with, 10 hours a week is what I usually try to allocate. And I'll just share with you, our real estate brand, we built it. How many years ago, Patrick, did we actually build the real estate? 6 years? Okay, 6 years ago. The first year of our real estate brand, a lot of time. Now, 6 years later, 5 hours a month kicks off a lot of cash flow. Yeah. Yep. Monetize. Yeah. So monetization, just everybody say with me, core monetization strategy. Core monetization strategy. Okay. Now, in the VIP dashboard, Eleanor, you're going to have a list of a bunch of different monetization strategies. So when I say core monetization strategy, well, right now we're on a challenge. We're on a live challenge. So challenges on YouTube or challenges in our Facebook group is one of my core monetization strategies for my coaching, consulting, and mentoring brand, right? So I'm literally modeling this for you. For my meditation brand, it is podcasts, right? It's podcasts and audio, and the value ladder is embedded in that space. Does that make sense? You can use masterclasses. You can use live launches, which include like live masterclasses, challenges, live events, things like that. You can also use recorded. So we use a lot of, and in fact, for people who join our program, we're going to train them on my webinar strategy, which I've used since 2013 to actually monetize. So we're going to put that in. We've got a whole bunch of other stuff in. If you guys want to learn about that, we'll talk about that tomorrow. But for me, I use all different types. So Eleanor, the live launch method with the masterclasses is a great way to do it if you're building a personal brand, right? You just want to make sure, everybody listen in, you want to make sure that your low ticket offering in your value ladder is talking to your high ticket buyer and hitting them at their pain point. So you don't get two radically different energies trying to buy or engage with you. Does that make sense? No, you don't actually need a low ticket offer. Great question. So Eleanor's asked the question, do you need a low ticket offer? Not always. No, not always. Right? Can I ask you a question? I want to ask my VIPs a question. And as you're watching on YouTube right now, I want you to think about this and answer this question for yourself. Do you understand the big picture that there are 4 core decisions to make? 4 core decisions. Do you know the principle, the primary principle of that you can do it? Just say, I can do this. Can I encourage you? You have 4 decisions to make. So if you could make 4 decisions with me, I'll run through them again in just a minute. Can you make 4 decisions with me? And if you hate the decisions, get a new piece of paper and we'll start over. Okay? Deal? Why do you think my book looks like this? Okay? All the folded down pages are brand ethos. All right? So can we make 4 core decisions today? Yes or no? Awesome. We got a yes. So we're going to stay big picture because we're blueprinting, right? We're not nailing the nails in the floorboards right now today, friends. We are blueprinting. Okay. Say blueprint, right? We're sitting down at our drafting table and we are designing this dream house, so to speak. And we're using Anne McDonald's model of the ethos tree, the same model that she's been doing since 2000. And well, actually, I first built my interior design brand in 1989, right? Maybe before some of y'all were born. Okay? This is how I designed my interior design brand, Couture Chateau. It was pretty cool. What did I do? I just sat down and I was like trying to figure out if this was the marriage of some current brands, what would it look like? And that's what I want you to do. First decision, friends. 4 root ethos. Think grandparents. Think breeding of your brand and hold nothing back, right? Like Range Rover Autobiography, that's not cheap, right? Royal Crown Derby, if you know the China, is not cheap. It's very special, okay? So give yourself permission to really elevate, right? Because you can always provide low priced options, but dream a little bit here. Okay. Give yourself permission to dream. So your first core decision is, if my brand was the love child of 4 other brands, be as specific as you can. That's the first core decision. The second core decision is really, will you do it or will you not? Will you lean in and understand that Oxford and Google probably do have something important to say about stability of online brands, right? I'm inclined to believe them. And so I just knocked this stuff out. 7-11-4. It's a decision. It's not a feeling. It's not a process. It's a decision, just like we talked about on day one. Day one, what did we talk about? How to make really healthy, fast decisions. 3 fingerprints of decisions. Write these in the chat. We bent positive, right? We always going to bend positive. Second, what are we going to do? We're going to believe that our idea is good. Because if we're right here on the 7-11 form, we're like, that idea sucks. Are we going to do it? No, we're not going to finish. And third, we're going to make the decision as someone who's already succeeded. We're going to future pace our own selves and say, hey, I got a brand that just clicked on at 100 grand a month or $1 million a month, or wherever you are, $500 a month, wherever you are in the process. And you're going to make your decisions as someone who's already achieved that identity. And you're going to look back and make the decision at hand, right? Is that 3 fingerprints? Very important. So as you're looking at this 7-11-4 part, what are my 4 platforms? Well, my 4 platforms: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, one of the brands, right? Some of you are going to have 4 different platforms. Then you're just going to make a decision, 11 types of content. Content can be the same, it's just in 11 different forms, right? And then 7 hours. Let's talk about this for a second. 7 hours of completely bingeable content. Does it have to be great? Not really. It just needs to be. Okay. Third decision, what's the branch of our brand? Where does your ideal client, Wendy, want to find you? Where does she want to give you that email? Eleanor, where does your ideal client want to find you? Are they finding you on LinkedIn? Are they finding you on Facebook? Where does she want to find you, or he want to find you? Dave and Melissa, where does your ideal client sit down to give you their email and their phone number, their text, to get on your list? And then finally, Sarah, Melissa, Dave, Pam, I'm looking at my VIPs right now. We got Lisa and we got Kim. Kim, what kind of monetization strategy are you going to focus in on for your highest ticket client, no matter the price, right? Right? Does that make sense? Okay. We'll take another question, then we're going to wrap. If we go for a personal brand, would those 4 root ethos be related to a given coaching program? Great question. So it really depends, Eleanor. So when I want everybody to think of this for themselves. I have a whole lot, actually on this side, I have a whole lot of brands that I build out, I ethos out for myself and for our consulting clients. And I do one brand at a time, Eleanor. So if I'm doing a coaching brand, I am really thinking about the coaching piece. If I'm doing my personal brand, my overall, like Ann McDonald personal brand, which, I haven't done really because I'm making my brands, right? So for me, doing the personal brand, I would really hub it so that it was big enough to include the coaching piece. Does that make sense? If I can give you one tip on this, is it okay if I give you one really big tip on this? Choose brands for your ethos that scare you a little bit, that push your awareness of your identity. Level it up a bit, friends. Okay, level it up a bit. So when we were doing our real estate brand, we made a whole big list of like all these different options for the root ethos for the real estate brand. And for the most part, our information products our templates, and our actual physical properties serve what I would call upper middle class base, right? They're more Pottery Barn and Home Goods than they are Neiman Marcus. Does that make sense? And Louis Vuitton. Does that make sense? So for me, I was like, I don't even think they're Pottery Barn. I think they're Home Goods. I love Home Goods. My sister loves Home Goods. It's easy. It's really easy to engage. And so when we were doing that, I had to level it down a bit. But when we were doing other brands, I'm like Range Rover Autobiography. So if you are building a personal brand, I want to give you permission and just a kind of can I drop a challenge flag for you since we're on a challenge? Really think about elevating your brand a little bit. Think about going a notch higher than maybe you feel comfortable. Okay? Because you're going to make space for a higher caliber person that's going to give you an opportunity to grow into the identity that I know that God has ordained for you. Does that make sense? Awesome. Has this been helpful? I'd actually love to know from my VIPs, has this been helpful to think about this and the blueprint? Literally, this is how I do it. This is how I do it. This is how I do it. And then in our advances, we go through and we assign all this stuff. We navigate it, we assign it, we go to checklists, we hire it out, and like, come to mama. Awesome. You have 3 of 4. Come on, Sarah, fast decision maker. Yay. Give me those fast decisions. All right. One more piece of counsel. Have fun with this. Have fun. The energy that you and I create with is the energy that will come through. It's why I love having the VIP room. We get to be on for concierge coaching, ask the hard questions, support each other in that space. And it's fun, right? It's super fun. All right, so give yourselves a round of applause. Tomorrow, for those of you who are interested, I will share a little bit about how you can work with us. You can work with us with our VIP day at 40K, and you can work all the way down to that lower price point with us as well. Okay, so I'll share with you a little bit about that. And VIPs, check your dashboards later. We're actually going to do a special training. I'm gonna play a special training from one of my friends who put together a special training just for you guys in my group about how to actually get leads, how to actually get real leads. And he is the one behind. How many of you know who Les Brown is? It's going to be streamed. I think it's not on until 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock Pacific, Eleanor. So it'll be much later in the day. He helped Les Brown get his whole audio stuff together. And Evans is a dear friend of mine. Evans is actually training our mastermind group on a special live training right now that he made just for us. So we're going to give you a sneak peek into that. And if you're in the VIP room, you get access to that training. It'll be later today, Eleanor. So, and it'll all be recorded for all of y'all in VIP. All right. Let's have a great day. Invite a friend into the challenge. Let them know it's a place to be. All right. Bye, friends.